Don't be snapping sticks near me, Gladys. Hello everyone, welcome to Primetime Mitch, and today I am going to be discussing Weapons, the newest movie directed by Zach Cregger, produced by New Line Cinema. This movie had so much hype going into it, and I was a little bit concerned because recently that hasn't been a good thing. Longlegs got that treatment and was billed as being terrifying when really it was more of a crime thriller with horror elements. Presence got the same treatment when it was actually more of a family drama. So I was really hoping that this one would break that chain. This is going to be a spoiler review. I will say it right off the bat now because I gave a quick non-spoiler reaction to it straight out of theatre the other day. You can check that out on my socials and on the shorts on here. Before I get into the review, please guys, if you enjoy my content before now and you are watching now, do me a favour and drop me a like and a subscribe down below. Hit that notification bell. Let's get going. Weapons. So this is a movie I avoided the trailer of. I've been doing that a lot recently, particularly with movies I am excited to see. I avoided Final Destination Bloodlines. I was very proud of that. I did the same with Bring Her Back, and it's just making for a better experience because I think they're giving far too much away in the trailers, particularly the ones with lots of jump scares in. Because it seems to me now that trailers seem to begin or end, mostly end, with the biggest jump scare in the movie. So I avoided this one, but I did hear a slight hint of it when I was scrolling through Instagram one day and I heard the child's voice doing the narration, but I quickly switched it off. So we do start with that child's narration. You don't really know who this child is, but they basically tell the story of the night in this small town where at 2:17 a.m, 17 kids just got out of bed and left the house and ran into the darkness and were never seen again. And it's told sort of after the fact, you know, looking back on it, and were brought back to the present to join the aftermath of that. And you've got Julie Garner here playing the teacher, Justine. Immediately we start with the name Justine in the middle of the screen, and I'm thinking, oh, is it going to be one of these anthologies again? Because I love it when they break up a story into different people's experiences and then they're all tied together. You see it a lot in anthology movies. A lot of shorts do this kind of thing as well. So this is almost like a really long short. I like this kind of structure. I like the different perspectives and then how they weave together. So I was very, very happy with this to start with. And you get, Justine is played by Julie Garner, and she is the teacher in this particular class that all these children have disappeared in. They're all in this one class, bar one boy named Alex. And of course the parents are furious. They blame her. They think she's been teaching them something, or something's been going on in that classroom that has made this happen. And she can't give answers. She's on the microphone and on the stage, and she can't get really what she wants to say out because you've got angry parents shouting at her, and you've got Josh Brolin, who is really the main parent, the sort of the spokesperson almost, probably self-appointed, but he wants to get to the bottom of it, and he directly blames Justine for what's gone on. He wants answers from her that she can't give. You've got Benedict Wong as the headmaster, and he gets her out of the school and tells her to just go home and try and ride this out. Now you find out with Justine that she is a bit of an alcoholic. She's got a problem with dealing with her issues by drowning in the drink, and she's buying vodka at the store, and she realizes she's going to have problems because when she gets home and she's pouring a drink, she hears knocks at the door, no one's there, goes out, and somebody has written witch on the side of her car. I'll admit I didn't twig that was going to be a bit of a foreshadowing for what was about to happen. I think I was thinking that maybe there was some kind of cult going on, but I thought with them putting on the car, it would be too obvious and they wouldn't go in that direction. So I never really thought it was a foreshadowing. So after that, she's at the bar and she's getting drunk, and her friend comes to see her. It's a police officer she'd smiled at earlier, so we got the feeling that there was a bit of a thing there between those two, maybe in the past. And he comes to visit her, and he won't drink, he won't accept a drink, and it's almost like she's trying to force him to do it. I was getting the impression at that point that he just didn't want anything to happen following the drink between the two of them. But nevertheless, after a while, I'm going to skip on here. I'm not going to give you too much of this. I know it's a spoiler review, but I don't want to just completely dissect the script from start to finish. But Justine wants to clear her name. She wants to find out what is going on, and she turns to that one young boy that came to school that day, and that is Alex. And she finds out that he lives in this house, and there's something really, really strange about this house. She tries to get a look in there. She can't see what's going on, but it looks very sinister inside. That's sort of the setup. And from then on, we start getting the stories of the people around her. So we get the story of the homeless waster guy that's just a thief. He's heavily on his drugs. He is caught up in all of this because he ends up in that house and he is trying to rob it, and he discovers there's something really wrong with that place. He also has several run-ins with Paul, the police officer I mentioned before, played by Alden Ehrenreich, who is somebody I'm not really that familiar with. I believe he was in the Wendigo episode of Supernatural, so that's probably the only place I've really seen him. But he's a very good character in this, I think. So he's one of the stories, as is Archer, played by Josh Brolin. You find out about his experiences of looking at the CCTV camera and trying to find out what's going on with these kids and where they might have run to. And he's got maps out and he's drawing lines from here to there to try and figure out the path. You get the story of Marcus, the head teacher, who has quite a scary moment within Archer's story when he comes running from across the road, maniacal, and that has to be seen really to be appreciated. But that's quite an interesting story, although to be honest, I don't think his story in general was really necessary of a full-length story of his own. I think he was on the fringes, and he obviously was involved in a very important swing in the movie, but I don't think it warranted its own section. You get Paul's story and the fact that he's in a marriage he's not particularly happy with. He is a recovering alcoholic. That gets revealed, and sort of I understand now why he didn't want that drink in the bar. His run-ins with James. And what I will say is, throughout these little minor tales, I was kind of hoping to get to the one remaining child, Alex, so we could find out why he was the only one remaining. Everything was sort of hinging on him. We finish on that. That would be the final story before this movie starts heading into its crescendo. First of all, before I get to that finish, some of the great little things about this movie that I really enjoyed and I really found fascinating. The run that the children do in particular is very unsettling, very unnatural. Certainly for an adult to run like that. I know there's a lot of inspiration apparently taken from the fact that that's how kids run when they're excited. I'm sure I read that Zach Cregger was looking at how kids seem to have that napalm girl kind of run from the infamous photograph. And he not only gives them that sort of running style that looks great on the poster and it makes it unique, they also talk about it in the movie. Look at the way they're running. They're all running in this way. It's not like they're doing this individually. They are heading in one direction for one purpose collectively. So I liked that. I liked some of the imagery in this movie. I thought the lighting was fantastic, in particular during the scenes when the kids are running away. I love the score in this movie as well. The music at the start, when the tale is being told of what happened to the kids, it's almost like a coming of age drama score, and it makes it a little different. It just puts the spooky aside for a minute and makes it a bit more real. So I like that. And I was having a really good time with this movie all the way through. The first parts, the middle parts, I was interested in what was going on. I like Julie Garner's character more than her Wolfman character. I thought she was pretty empty in that, but she was suitably cast in this, I thought. And I think it's important to talk about how I felt about this movie before the ending, because it's gripped me and made me want to get there. Now, one person I haven't mentioned yet is Amy Madigan. Introduced to this film late on, didn't expect her to turn up. There've been glimpses of her before in dream sequences, and one in particular in the woods when James is sort of staggering through the woods and he looks and she's sort of waving at him in the corner. That really creeped me out. Again, you have to see that to understand it, but that was nasty. It was like a long shot. It almost reminded me of Pennywise, you know, when he's got the balloon and he's waving or he's beckoning, that kind of thing. It was really, really nasty. So that was great. I thought there was some really good horror there. And when she arrives, her look, her presence is deeply disturbing. She is overly made up, like to ludicrous level, to clown levels almost. And she has this awful fringe, this strange hair. It's obviously a wig, but she is very calm, very sweet old lady kind of approach. But my God, there is something sinister there. And it slowly unravels that it is her witchcraft that has caused these children to leave their homes at that time. And you realize as it goes on, that everyone in that house is under that spell. Alex's parents, Paul eventually, James, and all the children in the basement. And Alex is there purely to feed them. If you were ever wondering why this movie is titled Weapons, it's because these people, when under that spell, are simply that. They are human weapons. When Amy Madigan's character Gladys, which suits her so much, by the way, what a great name to use. Gladys has always been a very curious name, I think, and it really suits her eccentricity, I think. She creates this strange sort of concoction with her and blood and water, and then wraps it around a stick, and it's just a simple snap, and they snap and they go off and they attack whoever's hair is round the stick. So I understood what was going on, and you get that sort of establishment that this is witchcraft, this is somewhat of a cult, and these people are just being used as weapons by this supernaturally blessed, evil, crazy old woman. What I will say before I go on to the things I wasn't too sure about is that the end scene when the kids are chasing Gladys and they are smashing through the windows, and the camera work in this is fantastic, by the way. It had like 28 Days Later vibes about it. I loved it. And then when they reach her, they rip her to bits in sort of a Dawn of the Dead kind of way. And it is fantastic practicals. It's nasty. There's limbs going everywhere. There is flesh being torn off, and they just absolutely rabidly dispose of her. And it is a great finale. But that's kind of where it leads me into the negatives a little bit. First of all, I think this ends a little bit too abruptly. You had a first 5 minutes of this movie with this child, unknown child, we don't know who it was, who is telling the story of how this all began. And then they come in at the end to close us out, and it's just maybe 2 lines. And it seems like there should have been more explained at the finish. Like, we got a whole monologue at the start, and then it's done and dusted. The kids went back to the parents, and some of them started talking again and all that and that's it. And it just felt like they ended it very, very quickly. So maybe that's just me. Maybe a long monologue might have sort of slowed it down to the point where it was like a more of an anticlimactic ending. I don't know. It might have taken away the adrenaline of what had just happened before. So I can understand that as a point as well. The one thing that bugged me the most was there was no real explanation as to why Gladys was doing what she was doing. She's just an evil woman with powers, an evil witch that just does this for her own amusement. Okay, I can believe that, but it would have just been nice to have had her side of the story. Now, maybe we might get that. Maybe there is a prequel in the works where we can learn about Gladys, because I actually think as a horror character, she is fantastic. She's another cosplay option for many out there, I think. So I would be intrigued to know what led her to wanting to do that kind of thing, because she's the only one we really know nothing about, but yet she is absolutely captivating. So I think she should have been given something. I was a little bit confused about the dream sequence with the AK-47 over the top of the house. All I can think is it's something to do with weaponry. It's sort of a hint. It's almost like a clue that he's not understanding because he's dreaming. So that's all I can think, because it was a nice image. It looked really good. It looked quite creepy and had all the dreamscape feel to it, but it just didn't make a whole lot of sense at the time. But other than that, I've not got a lot of negative to say about this movie. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I thought it was creepy as hell in parts. The jump scares were minimum. I thought there was going to be loads. They are there, but they're not just solely reliant on loud noises. They are there as visual jump scares, and that's what I liked about this. They seem to think about it, and where you think one's coming, it doesn't. It just relies solely on the tension that they've built. So I liked all of that. I love the structure. I absolutely love the different individual stories. Like I said, I think some maybe were dragged out a bit long, and maybe we could have allocated that time to finding out about Gladys and her arrival, or her journey there, or her reasoning for doing what she's doing. Again, if we get something coming up after this, then I take that all back. But overall, Weapons was a lot of fun, and I think an absolute treat for horror fans. I think horror's doing great this year. Whether you've liked all the movies or not, there's so many options out there, and there's so many ideas being thrown about, and an original story as well. This was original. It was very unlike anything I've seen. I could liken it to many a Stephen King movie. I think my friend Sean, Moist Strawberry on Instagram, he'd mentioned there was elements of Hitchcock in there as well. It had a lot of inspiration, but it's its own movie. So I urge you to go check out Weapons. I urge you to jump over to Letterboxd and maybe give my review of this a like, and definitely give this a like. I would love you if you could do that, please. I'm always appreciative of any interaction on my opinions on things, whether they agree or disagree. It's great to have a discussion about movies like this, and the fact that they're existing now and they're out there is a brilliant thing for all fans of the genre. Thanks, guys. That is my review of Weapons. Again, drop me a like and a subscribe. Follow me on socials. Check me out on Letterboxd as well. I am racking up the movies at the moment on there, and they're all of varying styles and genres. I will be back soon with another ranking video and tier list video. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but you will be the first to know after I know. But for the meantime, take it easy. Have a good day, guys.